Hey guys, can I mention what the video for you guys? In today's video, we're going to talk about the iPhone 7 going into 2023, if this phone is worth it, and all the things you should consider if you're considering an iPhone 7, if you're using it, thinking about upgrading from it. Let's dive right into it. So the iPhone 7 here, as you can see in my hand, it's a very small compact phone, 4.7-inch display here now, released back in September of 2016, which makes the phone a little over 6 years now, and later this year it's going to hit the 7-year mark, which seems like a long time for the iPhone, and it is, and some things are going to start to matter for this phone. It did age pretty well, we would say, but we'll notice a couple things when you compare it to the new iPhone 14 lineup here. So as you can see here, nice beautiful display now, comes in multiple colors here. You can get it in this black color, you can get it also in gold and silver and special rose color as well. Now you'll see the body design here, built with aluminum body, pretty durable body, we would say. Now, a couple of feature changes coming in with the iPhone 7 here is starting from the iPhone 6 lineup. In the 6S, you remove the headphone jack completely. As you can see here at the bottom of the design, you got this single 12 megapixel camera, and then a 5 and a 7 megapixel front camera as well on the phone. And with the phone comes equipped with A10 Fusion chip with 2 gigs of RAM. Now, if you think about the chipset now, the chipset are up to 16 generation, which is 6th generation ahead. So in terms of chipset, it is running on the older chip, which kind of matters for some apps when it comes to performance. But besides that, if you're looking for a phone like the iPhone 7 here, in terms of things like the storage you get, starts with very limited 32 gig, can go up to 256 gig. And when it comes to things like battery life, you notice the battery life is around 13 hours of video playback. It has a 1960 mAh battery, which seems like a smaller battery because it's a smaller phone now. As you'll notice, this phone, we used it for some time. It's a good device, but overall, when it comes to things like camera, you're going to be very limited. It does take decent photos, and you want to have fancy things like photographic styles or some high quality shot on it. But you'll notice here you can actually record some good content in terms of video as well, and that's kind of what Apple does with their phone. When it comes to camera, it's one of those things where even on a phone like the iPhone 7 still does pretty good, but of course doesn't have all the fancy features like cinematic mode, action mode, night mode, all of those which are introduced later on the phone. So kind of limited in terms of that. Now, the other thing I mentioned about is the software of this phone, which is going to be a big topic for this phone, which we made a video on it. You'll see here when you open up this default tips app, you'll see iOS 16 preview comes here, but unfortunately the iPhone 7 here does not get iOS 16. It's going to be stuck on iOS 15. That's the highest version of software you can update it to. And you can also see that if you go into settings here and go to general software update, you'll see there's updates still being released by Apple, like things like my security fixes and any issues that come up. And these updates are going to probably happen for another year or two, which we've seen with the older version of iPhones, which still gets to update, although it doesn't get the latest version of it. So you're not going to get the latest software update, which kind of makes it difficult for some apps that are newer apps that might not be able to download on the phone. But for the most part, when we started testing out some of the popular apps here, we noticed that some of them do require an update. They can update to an older version. You can use it like things from like social media, like all the popular apps, to things like even YouTube, Netflix. You can see all the apps we have for our entertainment purposes, even work and school related or just general day-to-day usage will still work, no doubt there. But as time goes on, maybe later this year or even next year, you might find that some apps won't be able to update anymore to a point where it won't work anymore at all, which we've seen with other devices when it comes to aged iPhone. So let's bring it back. Is the iPhone 7 worth it going into 2023? Well, keep it short and simple. If you're looking for a phone really budget friendly but can do basic things like simply call, text, and light browsing, don't look any further. The iPhone 7 here can do that. Unfortunately, Apple no longer sells it directly on their website, so you'll have to look at sites like Amazon or eBay, which will leave in the link in the description section for this phone, and you can pretty much get this phone pre-owned or refurbished around $70-$80. Now, if you think about a new iPhone 14, the base model starts around $700-$800, so you're paying almost 1/10 the price to kind of get a phone, an iPhone ecosystem that gets the job done for you. But keep in mind the phone here, it's just simply going to be a budget friendly phone, maybe suitable for a kid or an older adult that don't really care about the latest and the greatest features and all those fancy stuff. So in 2023, the iPhone 7 again will get you by somewhat. Again, in terms of speed and performance, don't expect all of that from it. You get a decent battery, decent camera, but when it comes to all of those fancy features are not there. One thing we will say that the iPhone 7 does have is the physical SIM card, which on the US model iPhone 14 lineup no longer has a physical SIM card. So if you have an unlocked phone and you like to travel out of the country, it might be easier if you have a physical SIM card to swap out instead of trying to activate eSIM card every time, which you have to go through your carrier. So that's probably the plus point on the iPhone 7 here. Of course, there is the Touch ID as well if you don't like the Face ID. But if you're really considering for even a cheaper phone, we'd say a better option would be probably the iPhone SE second edition, which is 3-year phone again, and you can get that phone for around $150 or so, which will last you another 2 to 3 years. But the iPhone 7, again, if you have it, probably just want to squeeze the last bit out of it, keep it. But if you're thinking about upgrading to it, consider like the iPhone SE here or even iPhone 11, which will get you further and kind of last in the long run. But again, when it comes to just being budget conscious and just not looking to waste too much money, or if you don't have that budget for it, yeah, sure, the iPhone 7 will get you by, and that's why we'll leave you guys the link in the description. We want to hear from you guys. What's your thought on the iPhone 7? Have you used it, upgraded from it, or still pretty much rocking it out? Leave a comment in the comment section. While you're at it, we really appreciate hitting that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.